the first process is inquire and start chat, and then we connect the two together, and then they'll have a meeting if there's not a meeting link either in the bot or in the introductory mail. So yeah, 8.45 days from first inquiry to the customer self kicking off to start the project. The deal size, again, $1,600, the jump there. Again, changing sort of from that bid-based where it's a drive to the bottom to make it as cheap as possible to something else that says, if I can describe it properly, I can explain everything. What are you going to get? What, you know, all of that sort of information that I spoke about. What is the benefit? What is this going to do for you? The terms and conditions, what's excluded, what's included. Now, you know, we're encouraging guys to do, you know, agencies to charge their normal standard rates. And we're seeing that in the numbers with the average deal size, 1,600. We've done, as I said, a $20,000 deal. We've done $14,000 content deals. So we've done very large deals. Also some a lot smaller, but obviously on average it's 1,600. Okay, now, yeah, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here, and happy at this point to take sort of any questions, and really sort of, you know, for me, this was the most surprising, you know, piece of data when sort of analyzing who is buying. So the first thing that we wanted to look at was the company size. Okay, so if we took everyone on average, what is it? Is it what HubSpot were thinking, that it's sort of that owner-run business, one person up to 10 people max would be the biggest of that, or is it something else? So running through our data on average, and that's 51 to 200 is kind of looking at LinkedIn. So we kind of use one standard, kind of get a company size and the way they describe their companies and how many staff they've got. On average, the vast majority fit into this 51 to 200 employees. What's quite interesting there is that's the exact sweet spot for, you know, HubSpot of exactly where they're looking in sort of their smaller sort of SMEs. Obviously, they've got quite a big enterprise play and driving there, but, you know, traditionally this has been HubSpot's sort of bread and butter sort of size companies. The next interesting stature was job titles. Again, you know, this director, owner, run business. Who's buying? And if we look through there, the vast majority is sort of your sort of senior manager, marketing director, VP marketing. You know, really sort of focus around titles that are marketing related. VP and director of sales, again, because I'll show you on the next slide is kind of what they're buying. So very focused on the exact titles that most of you will be targeting as your agency. We've got owners there, but it's a very small percentage. Location, 90% US. That was the other interesting thing. It was just a very skewed, I think, to the US. Again, not surprising. I think that makes a ton of sense if you're thinking about this adoption to technology. HubSpot themselves just buying HubSpot, I think, is super innovative. The next thing is platforms like Upwork or Fiverr or any sort of marketplaces. It's always a huge adoption from the US. They understand that the market is far, even from my Impul days, the US market has always been far ahead of Europe. Europe has always been, not behind, but kind of taking their time to make decisions. Let me see something backwards and forwards, maybe a more traditional sales process. The US is sort of more digitized in that sense. So that was interesting.
Let me ask you, Graham, real quick.
Yep.
I'll stop you for a second. So a couple questions. When you increased when you productized the services, you released those productized services, did you see margins affected? And this backs into one of Rob's questions, where productizing these services tends to affect margins. Sounds like we are confirmed that it does increase the close rate of services if they are more productized, is what you guys are finding. But what do you say to these agencies when they ask about affecting margins?
In most conversations, like I don't know the exact margins. I did see that as one thing, and I try to speak to a couple of them and just think. But through all of our conversations, we've always, we've always said to the guys, make the money that you want, make the margins the percentages that you want to make. Okay, unless you decide that you want to do this service bundle as a gimme, as a foot in the door or something like that. But there's not too many of those around there. But we've stressed to guys on calls, make the money. Okay. I kind of then look in a lot of cases of some of the locations of those agencies. So there's a whole host in the US, okay, which obviously the hourly rate and day rates are going to be a lot higher than other places, or Europe as well as agencies. And I've looked through that using the experience that we've got from Empel and how we used to work with different agencies and rates and stuff like that. And most bundles are pretty close to making money. The other thing is also is we vet every bundle that comes through. So if we do see that's kind of where Nikita spends a lot of her time, is really just chasing the agency saying, actually guys, that cost is too cheap. You're not going to make money from that. Please, can you please put it up a couple of percentage there, because if you want to sell something for $500, the average price is $1,200. So I don't have total control on the margins, but we do vet the bundles, and we do speak to the agencies to ensure that they are making some decent margins, unless they come back and they're like, this one is not for margin, this one is just to prove our worth.
Got it. Yeah. And what I've seen from top agencies that do productize well, they'll productize the repetitive, ongoing, the easy processes that they build. And Vertica has a question about specific to HubSpot CMS and the website stuff that you guys are seeing purchased. And don't let me stop you if this is the last half of the presentation of what services, but obviously all these questions are going to be around, all right, what services are they buying? Specifically, what are they titled? What are they called? What are they priced? So if this is later slides, feel free to continue, and I won't ask the questions. But HubSpot CMS websites, that's a question from Vertica.
I think with the Vertica, I think if you could hold just a little bit,
continue then.
Next slide, and the next slide after that. There's we've got quite a lot of that of what they're buying. We've sort of dug in, but again, I think you talked about sort of CRM, you're talking about website development or any sort of development are the kind of core. For us, the majority of what's being bought. So I think just kind of look here. Where are these leads and these opportunities coming from? The vast majority is actually from HubSpot themselves. So there's a ton coming. I think we're working and we get sort of 5 to 8 opportunities a day coming through, and most of them a lot of them are coming from HubSpot themselves, where through that onboarding phase, in that sort of early sales closure, as they close the deal, they're asking sort of who can help. They're saying you've got the HubSpot directory, we've got a couple of agencies we can introduce you to, or go look at On the Bench. So I think the next one again is the next two interesting pieces that we got were how quickly are they buying, and again it's this idea of this sort of productized of services. And again, Alex, I agree with the type of the sort of almost services that you want to productize. It is those ones that are easy to understand, the ones that can kind of fly off the shelf and get going pretty quickly. It's not too complicated. This idea of trying to even describe doing some sort of complex API integration to do, into this finance, into HubSpot, to do like 20 things, just to describe it, you're not going to get it on one page. And again, it's not really the right type of service to be productizing. But in how quickly do they purchase? So these buyers are coming in to On the Bench, or these sort of opportunities coming in, and what we're finding is they are requesting the bundles mostly on the first and second visit. It's actually quite skewed towards first visit, But between sort of first and second visit is where they're buying. Again, not that surprising because I've just bought HubSpot, or I've just gone to HubSpot to ask them, for some help to do a landing page as an example. They've sent me to On the Bench. I've got a need. I come to On the Bench. I find 4 or 5 options for me. I need something done now. I'm going to buy. On the Bench is not the site where people are just going to browse and come have a look and super useful information. They're coming there to buy. The other one is the split between sort of brands and agencies. And again, something quite interesting, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it sort of in some of the learnings. We do quite a lot of agency work where some large agencies are coming in, and it's not even just large ones, but I would think sort of platinum, diamond, elite. We do a lot of elite partners where they come in and they need assistance for whatever it is, content development, whatever it is. So there's a lot of agency collaboration. Again, it's sort of our background from Impel, and we understand it well. We understand how it works. So there's a lot of that. Post-COVID, I think a lot of agencies are also kind of rethinking, should I hire in? Or do I outsource with a freelancer? Or is something like On the Bench, where I'm actually working with another agency, a viable option? And a lot of them are working with us because what you're getting from another agency is the process, is the organization, and the ability to kind of do the work, as opposed to if it's a freelance, I'm busy, or I'm somewhere else, or if I'm hiring in. The biggest challenge there is maybe I'm a content agency, I'm trying to hire in a dev. Okay, I don't actually have a clue how to even interview this person. How am I gonna, how's this person gonna be working full time? So some of the brands coming in there, as you can see, most of these are labels that you're gonna understand and know and all of that. So some interesting companies, that have purchased from On the Bench. Okay, this is vertical. I think we're now starting to get to sort of the space that and some of the questions that you want. So we kind of looked at who's buying. What we've realized is that they are company sizes that most of you would be super happy to work with. Okay, I think it fits again into HubSpot's sweet spot, but again also into most of yours. What are they buying? And as you can see, again, I think if we went down everyone, and Alex, I'm sure you would agree, this wouldn't be surprising. I'm a brand. I've got a bit of a marketing team, and if I'm going to outsource something, what would it be? And most of it is web development. You can see there, and that ranging and the sort of order from On the Bench perspective of which ones are more popular, landing pages and different types of templates. You got sort of website rebrand. Again, what we're finding is with the drive of the CMS, a huge amount of opportunities coming in from there. Not a lot of skill around, and a lot of brands definitely won't have that skill. Again, email templates. Email templates makes sense. Sort of coming out of COVID, a ton of communication. Sending out notifications to their clients, to their suppliers, and again, just website fixes. So yeah, so that's the most popular by far, and you can see the percentages: 40%. The next closest one of CRM is 22%, and then marketing automation, integrations is climbing. I think for us, why it's low is I think this ability to get the skills. So we're searching quite hard to find skills and ability to do integrations. The migrations is is a big one. But if I kind of look at CRM setup and anything around the sort of CRM, again, I think it makes so much sense coming out of COVID, really sort of driving the sales teams to sort of pick up business, catch up if you can, but just sort of if there's opportunity, depending on their business. One of the things they're going to be doing is buying at least that part from HubSpot. And again, speaking to the agencies, speaking to even Empel from the Elite side, most of their business and most of the angle is CRM. So again, makes a huge amount of sense. So the development on the one side, CRM is the other side of the two biggest pieces, of the work being requested.
Awesome. And I have a quick question. The website development, just to clarify, is that's all on HubSpot CMS, correct?
Mostly on HubSpot, a little bit of WordPress, but I would think the vast majority is the HubSpot CMS.
So Jim had a question about content, and my answer, I thought that On the Bench only fielded HubSpot-based setup integration, XYZ CMS builds services, but you do field general stuff like content marketing. Is that something that you guys actually have data on, like a content marketing service in general, content creation?
Yeah. So we don't have a lot of data on there because it's not a big thing for us. We've done big projects, but they sort of with other agencies, and it's sort of been sort of one source. So we don't have a lot of sort of writers listed there. In a lot of cases, they've come in. If we can't help, we point them out to sort of other friends that have got platforms and marketplaces. Content is always, even in my background at Empel, in the agency world, content's always been a real tough one for us to get right. So maybe it's just kind of scarred from there, but it hasn't been. It's not a big thing sitting on our radar. I don't know, Nikita and Julia, if you've got anything to add there on content.
Yeah, I think in terms of requests, there's not a lot of content creation requests. However, if you look at the agencies who are registered as service providers on the platform, they all, being a HubSpot partner, have the inbound methodology going. So if there is a request around kind of content strategy and creating content around that methodology, it's something that we can find from providers. Actually, one of the big deals this year was a content marketing project, and it was based on a very specific industry niche where they were looking for an expert partner in a specific industry and vertical, and we were able to help find that partner for them.
Yeah, I think there's sorry, Julia, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think that the reason why it's so rare is because a lot of these direct brands have strategists and content writers in-house. And I think that the niche that On the Bench serves is this expert knowledge of HubSpot. So I think it's the reason why, all of the services that are very in demand are, the technical consultants who can configure CRMs or work out what's wrong with the workflows, or who can develop landing pages and websites on the CMS.
Yeah, from an SEO perspective, you can imagine it starting with a keyword, a long tail keyword around a very specific HubSpot blank service expertise, blank. And then they get to On the Bench. They may buy that productized service that they found based on the search term that they originally had. And then maybe they'll snowball around the site and find a content creation service. That's why those are probably low. That doesn't mean that they're not in demand. That just means probably those companies are finding those elsewhere, maybe on Upwork or maybe somewhere else that's not specific to a HubSpot-based project, right? So that's for you, Jim. Yep. And then Rob had a good question here. He asked, what is the ratio of new to repeat customers? So do you see a lot of uptake of the agency as an exclusive agency for your user, or do you see the companies buying a service from an agency, then you see them pop back a few months later and buy a different service from a different agency? What's relevant there?
I'm going to answer that one.
Okay, go for it.
I was going to say, I've just done a calculation quickly because I saw it was asked in the chat. And if I look at the first few months, because some of the months we do get more, I suppose, new visitors come in. But if we look at the first few months of this year, it's sitting at around 40 to 50%. And then if we look at the last few months, it's more around 60 to 70% of people that are actually coming back and purchasing again.
Very cool. That's good data.
And I think within that purchase, we've got, it's almost split down. I think there are a lot of examples of brands that are kind of sticking to the same agency, so coming back and sort of working with them on a new project and continuing that. So there's that, and then there's cases where, depending on what is it that they're looking for, they will, work with a different provider. So what we find on average, in average of this year, is that most of the brands have come back and bought 3 times at sort of an average. And for us, we do sort of handhold. We engage quite a lot with HubSpot as well. If someone's got a very specific need, we'll engage with HubSpot to kind of get some referrals to agencies that they rate, and then we'll contact them through the interaction, bring them in and say, we've got some work and opportunity for you. But as I would assume, if we did a very open, anonymous survey to agencies, how many of those sort of brands continue working with them, maybe away from the platform on a retainer, I think it would be quite interesting. I think it would be quite interesting to see the numbers. For us, the focus is on the projects, and sort of that engagement 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. And if it turns into a retainer, for us, we're super happy to hand it over to that agency and say, continue on that side as a retainer. For us, our interest is on the projects.
Yeah, something I just wanted to add to that around repeat customers. What we found is, so the average number of purchases is about 3 purchases per customer. And if you look at the size of customer, 51 to 200 employees, if they're doing a lot of the work in-house and only kind of getting services from on the bench on a needs-be basis, they might come in looking for web development services as their first project. And then the second time around, they might need CRM setup. But for them, the guarantee and kind of the safety net for them is that if they don't get work that's delivered, we have that guarantee that you will get refunded. So they feel safe and secure in going through a platform like On the Bench, where they know they're going to get HubSpot experts, number 1. And number 2, know that we're there to kind of safeguard them, and obviously on the agency side, safeguard them, or at least guarantee their payment.
Yeah, it's interesting actually on the guarantee. I think we've only paid back sort of on 2 instances, which again, I think attests to some of the quality of the skills we've got and the quality of a lot of the sort of agencies within the HubSpot ecosystem. So yeah, I think so. Now we'll start sort of looking at sort of what searching and examples. So in this instance, within our platform, we've got an ability for someone to almost to type out what their needs are. We've built it sort of on top of on sort of Google's natural language. So what we try and do is we take this requirement up front, and then we try and turn it back and offer some sort of results that are sort of relevant to that search. So a lot of the searches obviously have been HubSpot. I need HubSpot, or I need something, very basic, 1 or 2 sort of, words. But I think over time we've tried to encourage people to kind of explain themselves and say it as much detail as possible. So again, a couple of examples here. I think this one, that first one, wanted something to start as a project before the end of December, and then a lot more work in 2021. So I'm hoping that that whoever won that is going to have a fruitful relationship there. But just a couple of examples here.
Awesome.
And then just moving into sort of the pricing and what we've got here. And again, I think all over our website, and happy to share sort of average costs. And this is what we're trying to do, is really sort of dig in to different countries around the world where agencies are based, trying to figure out, CRM setup and what does it cost? What does an agency charge in the US as opposed to, say, someone even in Canada, or someone in Europe, or someone in the Nordics? And we've got a good sense of it, and I think also through our experience with with Empel of what things cost. So that's why with us, as soon as these bundles come through, we do go back if we find that it's too cheap. But here's a couple of examples of different packages, really sort of focusing on a template pack, workflow implementation, CRM setup. These are kind of the most popular type of services that are requested, and you can see the sort of average rate. And a lot of these instances are kind of that first engagement. Get the opportunity, build a relationship, get that started, and then from there, obviously, hopefully, the buyer comes back, the customer comes back for a second project, or it turns into a retainer. I do, as this presentation, Alex, I will send it to you, and yeah, more than happy for you to kind of pass it on to everybody else to kind of go through this information in their own time.
Yeah. We're trying to catch up on questions. I think Julie has been in the chat answering some questions. Rob had another one.
Perfect.
And then, I think what would be super actionable and valuable, I mean, we have data that's driving what you guys are seeing, obviously, in this platform, but then there's some actionable stuff that the agencies can act on based on that data, and we can compile.
Yep.
I'm thinking like a 2-page document where page 1 are the stats that you're seeing, who's buying what services, who they're the verticals, and any data that's relevant.
Yep.
And page 2 are just, hey, here's what you should go and do based on that. So almost like a playbook for, hey, if I wanted to productize my HubSpot services, where would I start? What would I first go to productization market with? Meaning I'd start with CMS, or I'd start with this, or I'd start with a setup, and I'd charge this much for this vertical, and I would market that to these firmographics, US-based companies that are in, software, and you're going to target the VP of marketing or the director of marketing, and you're going to have a process of, you're going to post this on the bench, and you're going to sell this. And then the strategy after that is to obviously have a custom service on top of that, have ancillary services. And then there could be even a cadence where you suggest, based on your data, hey, I would come out with a specific service on top of HubSpot. One that's almost like your agency's flagship. It's what you're best at. And then I would, in order to keep leads coming from on the bench and from that service, I would do X, Y, and Z every 3 to 6 months, and just keep that flowing. So almost just like, imagine just like a playbook for productizing HubSpot services on the bench with the data to back it. That could be super cool.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it goes, Alex, it goes even further than just thinking about on the bench. This idea of productizing for yourself, for your own website, okay, and it's kind of where everything's going. This idea of, HubSpot talk a lot about, how do I sell online? How do I sell, how do I sell my services online? What do I sell? How complex is it? And there's many great examples of some really good agencies that are doing this well, that are kind of hacking together a little bit of, whatever it is to really showcase their services. And that, for me, as I said, with these takeaways and the playbook that we'll create is a lot for you guys to think about for your own agency. And yes, we'd love to help and sell them on the bench, but a lot of this can be used yourself on your own site and thinking sort of about sort of the 2021 and growing and all of that. What we find and this experiment of this productized service as a service bundle, it was a sounding success, for us, saying, could people buy services if it was described digitally? Could people buy like a traditional sort of e-commerce product? And we've answered that question. And the other thing that we're learning about the buyers, if we think about it, these are the same buyers that at home would have done online shopping. They would have bought Netflix. And in most cases, they're the same people that would have bought HubSpot digitally. Okay, gone through that process of self-serve and and maybe have one or two meetings and try and, take, their own time to do as much of the research, get that process running, and only maybe speak to a salesperson, right at the end. And so it's the same person that says, why can't they buy services in a productized way, sort of digital, or at least get quite far in the process going. So either, as I said, on the bench or yourself. So for us, the biggest one that as the biggest takeaway is the world has changed. I'm not going to go, talk a little bit about things are moving forward. This idea of taking a piece of your offering that is right, that you can explain and productize it, put it somewhere where someone can see it, allowing that buyer, that sort of self-serve, get all the information. You guys are you've got skills in creating bots. You've got your meeting links. This idea of this sort of this frictionless this sales. So productizing your services is a big one, and we'll put quite a lot there. Projects versus retainers, and I think it was something even before COVID that we were seeing, and even through some of the bigger elite agencies that we worked at and know is this shift from sort of this open-ended retainers, agile retainers, to a lot more projects. And so we're seeing a lot of that where, and when we say projects, it might not be that $1,600 sort of project, could be a one-year project, but with everything very structured. What exactly are you getting? How long is it going to take? What is the cost? What are the inclusions? What are the exclusions? So for me, again, I think the sort of this project idea with the productizing of services, do fall sort of hand in glove. Again, the opportunity to really present yourself, showcase your ability. In-house versus outsource, I think, through a lot of the brands that we've seen buying from on the bench, they've got this idea of trying to stock up their own team as much as possible, and only really outsourcing and working with, when needed. However, the big caveat is saying in that sort of thinking makes a ton of sense, but with HubSpot getting super technical and complex in their drive, especially creating enterprise products and adding on, the CRM enterprise or the CMS and things like that, there's so many pieces of this platform that it's virtually impossible, even for a lot of agencies, to have all the skills. And so these brands definitely don't have the skills. And what we're seeing then, back to that sort of productized service, back to the projects, is that they are reaching out in very specific areas of where they need help. So migrations, the CRM setup in areas where it'd be very difficult for them to scale themselves. The CMS building, if it's landing pages, building websites, building extensions to their site, integrating, their site to various things like accounting or whatever. Contactless sales, as we're all seeing this, it's becoming bigger and bigger, and this need to, again, self-serve, get the information. I jump onto a call. Can you send? We don't need to meet face to face. The other big thing that I've seen is sort of a lot of cross ocean or cross sort of time zone selling, where in the older days, I'm in Boston, I need to see someone. Please, can you come and visit me? That's not happening anymore. Even if it's an agency working with a brand in Boston, in a lot of cases they're not even seeing each other. So, and also the buyers themselves are now getting used to working from home. So for them, this ability to actually deal with anybody. So I'm based in San Francisco. I can deal with someone in Europe. Now, for me, I'm getting used to it and comfortable with it, as long as you can obviously accommodate the sort of time zones. Collaboration around agencies.
Let me just do this real quick, just to add some actionable checkout homework assignments. I'm showing two of my favorite productized service sites. I showed Pro from Go, great HubSpot top tier agency. They do localized services, so a little different. They productized the localized small business website aspect. And I spoke to the founder a while ago when he was putting this together, and this is his funnel. He wants any small business website to buy and not have any sort of a sales process. He just wants to show them this. They fill out a form. Maybe they do one call, but very low touch from his sales side of things. And he focuses all of his attention, all of the sales, the prep on the custom projects. So he puts this up on the website. He wants small businesses to go here and buy these. And then he's very transparent about his hourly prices. He wants them to just not ask questions and buy, right? Then on the more mid-market B2B marketing side of things, Six and Flow under services, they have launched their growth projects. Richard has done a really good job at productizing their services, and they are very transparent about the pricing and what the projects are. So they use these for top of the funnel lead capture, get involved in a project. They finish the project, and then they start to talk about custom development of something. This is a great way to just wet your beak with the client, get to know the agency. And then obviously also the bigger thing here is SEO. These are great long tail keywords that you can put on your site, and it's actionable. And they did a great job just on the design side to showcase this. So those are just two examples that you can check out. I'll post the links in the chat.